Thank you, everybody. I think people have started joining and coming in now. I would like to welcome everyone and welcome our speakers. Can you guys hear me very well? Can you just signify or send a message if you can hear me? Can you hear me very well? Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you loud and clear.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. So welcome once again. We are here to the very first webinar of the Ilorin Innovation Hub, and it's titled Building a Budding Tech Ecosystem in a Small City. So why did we have to add small city to our topic? Obviously, why don't we just say building a tech ecosystem anywhere? I think the reason behind that is because most of the time when you see a lot of tech coming out of one location, it's usually a very big city. In the world, the headquarters of technology, we can say, is in Silicon Valley. That's where most of the big tech companies came out of. But if you look at the United States of America, the US itself has a very broad spread when it comes to technology. And when I say the US, I'm going to actually say the US and Canada, because the US and Canada are almost like within the same geographical space. So over the past few years in Nigeria, we've definitely seen a boom, or what we can call a boom of technology, a lot of new startups, a lot of companies. I remember in 2005 or so, or four, when I was working in Lagos, I can remember that back then, the only payment company, the only technology company that did payments at the time was, we had maybe InterSwitch and eTransact back then. But now, I'm sure we all heard about the news of the PayStack transaction that happened. So that is a company that did not exist 10 years ago, that just started in the last 5 years and has been able to grow to that level of valuation and can be worth $200 million. So why are we here? We're here to discuss and look at how, okay, yes, we've seen some of this happening in Lagos and coming out of Lagos in Nigeria, which is the biggest market for technology in Africa. But for those of us that have lived in Lagos, that still visit Lagos, that know what living in Lagos is like, I'm sure we can tell that Lagos might not be the friendliest city to live in sometimes. First of all, you have the cost of living. Cost of living in Lagos is high. Lagos is actually one of the most expensive cities in the whole world when it comes to the prices and valuation of property. And in the US and Canada, you pay rent monthly, every month. But in Nigeria, you pay rent for the whole year at once. Or sometimes you pay rent for 2 years at once. So how are all these tech entrepreneurs supposed to, how are they supposed to afford all of this and still live comfortable lives when Nigeria is a somewhat big country and there's so many other cities in tech outside of Lagos? I think I'll start there. Just today, someone on social media dropped a comment where the person mentioned transportation and insecurity as the biggest problems facing tech in Nigeria. And that's why a lot of people would rather stay in somewhere like Lagos where it's more comfortable. But I mean, there's other cities in Nigeria that are peaceful, that have security, that have the infrastructure, that have the environment. So we're going to discuss a lot on this topic. So I think I've taken 4 minutes out of my 5 minutes intro. Let me squeeze in some introductions now. So if you're here, you've most likely seen the banner, the flyer for our event, and you've seen the lineup of speakers. So we have 2 speakers from North America, from Canada to be precise, who have done what we are talking about. They've done this before, meaning that, so right now we're talking about building a tech ecosystem outside of the big cities, in the smaller cities. I don't want to sound selfish and act like I only care about Ilorin, because at the end of the day, Nigeria is still my country that I'm from. And I think there's so many cities that are going to benefit from the overflow of technology. But I just happen to be located in Ilorin and involved with tech here in Ilorin. So they've actually done this before in Canada, in somewhere that's not necessarily a big city. So if I asked anybody here right now in the webinar to tell me the name of a big city in Canada, I'm sure everybody would go Toronto. That's like the first name that will come to everybody's mouths. But our guests here today are actually not from Toronto. They are not from the very big cities that you would mention in Canada. They're from a smaller city that has also been able to produce valuable technology companies and presence and products. We also have some speakers from Nigeria who, well, one of them is here in Kwara with me. Before I go into the introductions, let me just give you a broad scope of who our speakers are. And the other one is from Lagos. So we have 2 speakers from Canada, 2 speakers from Nigeria. We're trying to compare experiences here and see how everybody has been able to navigate the tech ecosystem in different environments and learn from their different experiences. So our first speaker that I'm going to introduce, let me just run through everybody. Adekunle Ajiboye. He is a senior mentor. I've known him for a short time, but in that short time, it seems like I've been able to, should I say, understand where he's coming from, and he's also been able to understand where I'm coming from. And it seems like I've known him for a much longer period. So Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, he's a software architect and a data strategist. He has a broad range of expertise in IT, spanning health, ICT tools for applications and commerce, IoT, that's Internet of Things, big data, and entrepreneurial consulting. So he's got a firm called Agimatics, and he has a group of companies, and he also serves on a few boards like the SME and GI, amongst other institutions. He's been honored with the Nation Builder Award on behalf of the Parliament of Canada. He's a celebrated alumnus of McMaster University in Hamilton. That's like one of the top universities in Canada when it comes to research, with graduate degrees in engineering and health. And he was also recognized as one of McMaster's 150 outstanding engineering graduates. So he's been featured in so many publications and achievements and awards in Canada. He's also an advisor to governments and institutions. I think I'm aware of the fact that he's an advisor to Antigua and Bermuda. He's also an advisor to, I think, the Canary Islands. He's also an occasional professor in artificial intelligence in 2 leading universities in America. So basically, when it comes to technology and teaching technology, I think he's got much more than what we need to be able to learn from his experience. Let me run through the remainings. I'll do the proper intros later, but we also have Dino. So Dino is not, we have a Dino. Dino, I'm really sorry, but I'm just going to crack a joke real quick. So many people confused your name with the name of a politician here in Nigeria, whose name is Dino Miele. This is not Dino Miele. This is not Dino Miele at all. He's not even African. So he's the founder of an innovation hub in Canada called Spark Niagara. It's a collaborative innovation space for incubation and acceleration of new and emerging startup companies and compatible businesses focused on digital transformation technologies. He's also the co-founder of the Niagara Falls Ryerson Innovation Hub. So that's another innovation hub that's in partnership with the Ryerson University and the city of Niagara Falls. That sounds a bit familiar, but I'll get to that later. So he's also a retired CIO for the School District Board of Niagara. So that's like the school, the Ministry of Education that we have in Kwara State, for example. He has 35 years of experience in educational technology in both enterprise and educational areas where he supported the K-12 ICT ecosystem. So that's like the secondary school technology and learning, which is actually a lot of what we're looking to do over here in Nigeria. Since COVID happened, I know many of the schools have been shut down, and we're all looking back towards technology and trying to figure out what technology can do for us, not just at the university or advanced levels, but even at the lower secondary and primary school levels. So he has a lot of passion for learning and through digital technologies in children, youth, adults, and seniors. He's passionate about community innovation and development for all. One of the many projects that Dino founded is Educational Research and Innovation Hub. He's also the founder of several other conferences. He has degrees in education. He's on several advisory boards, including the OEM Customer Council Committee. I know he's a member of the Forbes Business Council and the Niagara Ryerson Innovation Hub Advisory Committee. So that's who we brought all the way from Canada to Ilorin here today. So who are our speakers from Nigeria right now? So we have Oo Nwoye. He's going to be joining us soon. Oo is a very, very old friend of mine. I wish he was here to hear my introduction, but I'll do a proper one later. But you know, I mentioned PEST earlier on in my introductions. Well, Oo actually played a very critical role in the beginning, the early stages of PEST, and we'll hear more about that later. I'm going to have to beg him or force this out of him because this is not something he likes to talk about. But he's a good friend of mine. He has a degree from Warwick in the UK, and he's founded a few startups here in Nigeria. Right now, he's an investor and a board member on a VC firm. Actually, he's the one calling me right now. I wonder why. So yeah, we also have Kamaldeen Kehinde. So Kamaldeen is who I would say the biggest driver so far of our little ecosystem here in Kwara State, in Ilorin. So if you look behind me, if you're not sure what Ilorin is, what Kwara is, if you're not very familiar with this part of Nigeria, Ilorin is the capital of Kwara State. So Kwara is the state, Ilorin is the city, that's the capital city. So Kamaldeen is the MD of MalHub, which is another co-working space and tech hub here in Ilorin, and the community organizer at Kwara Build, which is the largest community of tech enthusiasts in Kwara State. I've spoken at one of their events. It's huge. He had over 1,000 people that I could actually have counted at the last event that we had. And I didn't even know there was that many people that were interested in tech here in Ilorin until that event. And they've been doing that for like 3 years steady. And I know the only reason why they didn't have a big conference this year was because of the pandemic. And I know they have very good plans for next year. He has expertise in providing technical guidance, mentorship, community support, facilitation, and he's basically just that ideal tech evangelist, if I'll put it that way. Everything he does is just shows his passion for technology and driving the adoption of technology in Nigeria. So we will go down our list of speakers. So to all our speakers, you have about 15 to 20 minutes to just talk to us, share your experiences and whatever you have prepared for us that you think we can learn from here in Ilorin in order to build that ideal tech ecosystem where we could also in the next 5 to 10 years start talking about producing the next Paystack, the next Jumia, the next Conga, the next Flutterwave, the next Piggyvest. It's very possible. We're not just doing this because we're dreaming. We're doing this because this is something that is very, very achievable. I'm sure we've all been able to realize now that it doesn't matter where you are in the world right now, to be honest. You can be in China, you can be in London, you can be in America, and still be able to work online. There's some companies and some startups that don't even have their employees in the same location, and they work remotely, and they still achieve what they want and are able to grow. So our first speaker will be Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. We would like to hear from you on the environment necessary, what's required, what exactly is needed for entrepreneurship, for tech entrepreneurship to thrive. So I will be handing over to you now to carry on and take us through what you think are the ingredients required for a budding tech ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Timmy. It's awesome to be with you and all the participants from all around the world gathering for Ilorin Innovation Hub today. Kindly give me access to share my screen. Dino, thanks for joining in. Greetings to Kamaldeen, OO, and all the others. And DJ Keys, I'm still dancing. I still have my dancing shoes on. Trying to share my screen. You just need to make me a co-host or enable screen sharing. And while that's going on, I heard Timmy talking about the position and location of Ilorin and what we're trying to do. It would interest you to know that even though Hewlett-Packard was the pioneer Silicon Valley company, and the Silicon Valley grew and became what it is today, there's a migration out of Silicon Valley now into what we call Silicon Hills. And there's a lot of movement of tech companies from California to Texas in the US. And is that the trajectory that we would want to put in place for Ilorin? And is it possible for us to do that? So now we have Silicon Hills. Major companies, Tesla has moved, major companies are moving across to Texas. How does this inspire Ilorin or Kwara State? So today I want to go through a little introduction before Dino comes on and wraps it up. Just give me 1 second. So this is the first in the webinar series for the hub. We aim to have one every month going forward. And we've got an amazing lineup of how we're going to impact Ilorin, Kwara, and of course, Nigeria. So today we will be talking about innovation-driven entrepreneurship. What are the elements of innovation-driven entrepreneurship? Innovation-driven entrepreneurship in Nigeria, in Ilorin, product and service development, enterprise forwarding, and thereabout. But if you will, I know that we were trying to get to know you better, and we'd like to know your brief background. Why an SME? What type of entity, if you have one? How old is your entity? What stage is it? But you would see I have the word businessman. Everyone in Nigeria understands what a businessman is. Growing up, when you met people and they say, what does your dad do? My dad is a businessman. You know of the businessmen from the Southwest and even from the Southeast. So entrepreneurship has been the DNA of Nigeria from get-go. We called it businessman then, we called it many other things, but it's all one thing. Nigerians have always been very good at finding a pain or a problem and preferring a solution and making money from it. That's what entrepreneurship is. All that has now happened now is that we are now enabling it by technology. We're now dispersing it by technology. We're having that guy that makes a shoe in Aba can get his shoes sold in Italy or in Canada. You know, we're having that collaboration. So we've got people coming in today from Ghana, from the US. We're having people collaborate. For example, Agimatics is in 3 continents, and we have our development teams across those 3 continents collaborating and developing solutions. So in the DNA of Nigeria, it's always been there. It's been called businessman. Now we're calling it entrepreneurship. We're talking about almost the same thing. So if we want to look at Nigeria, I'd say we should do a PEST, a political, economic, social, and technology overview of the landscape. We all know where Nigeria is in terms of GDP, in terms of quality of standard of living. I would not bore you with those statistics. But what's different about Kwara? Why should we pay attention to Ilorin? Keep in mind what we call in the North Central. It's got an airport. The cost of living is quite, a bit more affordable compared to other bigger cities. It's easily connected to other parts of the country. If the right infrastructure is placed in there, we could have a diversion or a shift. And then we could have people talking about, oh, the same way we moved techies from California to Texas, we can move them from Lagos to Kwara. If we're looking at this angle, what are the demographics of Kwara? The residents, the industries there, the tastes and preferences, the educational sector, all of this would influence what we want to try and produce out of Kwara and Ilorin. A little bit about SMEs in Canada. In Canada, the Canadian economy relies on SMEs. We define them as a company with less than 500 employees. As a matter of fact, I would define them with companies that have between 1 to 99 employees. And they represent 54% of our payroll. And they employ 8 million Canadians out of a population of 34 million. As a matter of fact, you can figure out what the economy, how good the economy is by just looking at the drive-thru of a Tim Hortons. This is where you buy your coffee every morning. You can have an idea of what the economy looks like by looking at the foot traffic in the stores. SMEs are critical, not only to Canada, but to major economies worldwide. And so, and they're supported in many ways at the federal level, at the provincial level, at the city level, to ensure that they continue to contribute to the Canadian economy. They generate a large part of our research, development, and exports. And I believe that same thing can be done for Nigeria. So, entrepreneurship. We've all heard that. What are we talking about? I want to distinguish between SMEs and innovation-driven entrepreneurship. So for SMEs, the time to bring them up is quite small. Their growth is linear. Think arithmetic progression. The investment required is not much. What are this kind of, they operate in regional markets. So think of the guy who's selling Kuno somewhere near a mosque in Ilorin. Think of that dry cleaner, I wonder where we'll put DJ Keys now, because she's there in Ilorin, but everyone around the world has seen her doing her trade. Think of the dry cleaner, think of the chemist, that sells those drugs. The chemists have even become doctors, by the way, in Nigeria. Think of the butcher, these are all SMEs. Okay, they're supposed to be supported by SMEDAN, as a matter of fact. So we're not necessarily pushing SMEs. We're not looking for the best next dry cleaning group. No. What we're liking to do in Ilorin, in Kwara, are what we call innovation-driven entrepreneurship. This will be producing solutions for export. They would have a competitive advantage at the core. They will be dependent on intellectual property and trade secrets. They would require a long time of gestation. That's where Dino comes in, where we come in with incubator and accelerator. Their growth will be exponential. Think of what we've heard about Paystack, and a lot of investment is required. Okay, so think about this. Instagram added a staff role of 12 when they were acquired for $1 billion by Facebook. That's exponential growth. And see what Instagram has become today. Look at where Paystack is going now. They're going to begin to dominate payments in Africa. That's exponential growth. So we are looking at IDE for Ilorin, for Kwara, and for Nigeria as a whole. For IDEs, we're saying that these jobs do not necessarily have to be performed locally. Your developers can be anywhere around the world contributing to the source code and to the team. And we want to actually have a lot of this coming out of Ilorin. So what Kamaldeen is doing should be commended and be supported. A little more about that. SMEs, I did say they're a significant indicator of Canada's economic vitality. We do know that also in Nigeria, that small businesses also give us an idea of what's going on. Although in Nigeria, the government is the largest employer and the largest driver of the economy, and we should try and reverse that. And it's actions like this that can make that happen. What are the hallmarks of an entrepreneur? So if you look at Kamaldeen's DNA or Dino's DNA or even Temi's DNA, like they see an opportunity, that's it. Wearing the glasses or not wearing the glasses, they see an opportunity and they marshal resources towards exploiting that opportunity and making a margin or a profit from that. What are their characteristics? I'm quite sure in Nigeria, they're most likely going to be more under 30 because we have a large youth population. They will most likely have some college degree because we have a lot of people who are educated. Their parents would have owned businesses. So all of these characteristics will influence or is influencing our current crop of entrepreneurs. So the baseline, I'm talking IDE, we're talking technology-driven enterprises, we're talking about enterprises and investments and products and solutions that will have a huge economic impact. Keeping in mind that technology and business now, they have no boundaries, and now into the future, there'll be many dispersed, dominant players, and there's a huge opportunity for Nigeria and a bigger opportunity for Kwara and Ilorin to stake a claim and be a dominant player. I want you to pay attention to the fact that we've moved from the resource endowment era, even though Nigeria is still in that era, in terms of dependent on oil and mineral resources. These are industries that required a lot of capital, a lot of investment. They were autocratic in their means of being run. And we've moved from there into the industrial era. And now we're in the knowledge-based era. Nigeria is still in the resource endowment era. Now, Canada, who actually is a larger exporter of oil than Nigeria, has succeeded in moving towards a knowledge-based era, even though the resources are still a dominant part of the economy. So Nigeria can learn from that and pivot. And in doing that, we can see that we can position Kwara and the Ilorin Innovation Hub, to play a dominant, influential role in that aspect. In this new economy, we're saying that knowledge and skilled workers are replacing equipment and assembly line workers. And if you do look at it, Nigeria cannot compete anymore now in producing heavy industries. We just won't get there. Not in steel, not in automobile, not in equipment, not in mechanical equipment. We won't. So the only way we can stake a claim or make a big progress is to look at innovation-driven entrepreneurship. And that's where places like Ilorin Innovation Hub come to play. So what are some of the challenges we do know that you're facing? We do know that the cost of input, which is an external factor you can't control. The fluctuation in demand, you can't control that. The increasing competition, if you're so good, they'll compete. The government regulations, we've got no influence over that. The shortage of labor and obtaining financing, which is one of the major factors hindering our entrepreneurs in Nigeria. But internally, what can you do that you can control? recruiting and training your employees, maintaining sufficient cash flow, managing debt level, monitoring business innovations, and informing yourself about your market. And you would notice that most of the challenges which are internal are part of the things that the Ilorin Innovation Hub will be helping our participants with going forward. So we've heard a lot about innovation. We've heard a lot about disruption. I just want to take a minute or two to talk about what we mean by these keywords. So I just give you an analogy, and I'll ask you, you can put this in the chat box. You can tell me of an innovation or disruption you can think of in Nigeria. In Nigeria. If you look about 20 years ago, I was in New York, and I had my Blockbuster membership. And I would rush to Blockbuster on a Thursday or a Friday to get the latest movie in the VHS cassette, and I had to drop it in the box by Monday before 8 o'clock, else I'll be charged a late fee. And then here came Netflix. Netflix says, listen, I'll send you the CDs by mail. You can watch it for as long as you want and send it back. And oh, by the way, I'm paying for the return. Now, Netflix was actually moving towards streaming, but they needed to gather data and understand viewing habits. So Netflix did the mailing at a loss, but they now understood what Americans wanted to watch and listen to. And voila, by the time broadband became more affordable and the speeds were up, they started distributing over the internet. And you can know where Netflix is today. That's a clear disruption. And Blockbuster was asleep when that was taking place. Yeah, in Canada, BlackBerry invented the smartphone. And BlackBerry just sat on the fact that, listen, I have made everybody, they can see their emails on their phone. That's good enough for us. We're not doing anything more. And here comes Steve Jobs, says, listen, I'll let you play a game on the phone. I'll let you listen to your music. Oh, by the way, I'll put a camera on the phone. And that did not capture the attention of Nokia or BlackBerry or even Kodak. And we all know where those companies are today. One that the jury is still out on is for books, hard copy books. We all thought that they would be displaced by e-books and reading on the Kindle and all of that. And I think there's still a 50-50 split between some people. For example, I like to hold my Bible, I'm not read it electronically. There's some books I like to read by holding the book. There's some I would do by electronics if I wanted to make annotations. But we're beginning to see that there's a thin line between disruption when it comes to books. So I want to believe that you have an idea, or you get it, where we're saying, what is a disruption? Who is a disruptor? What is innovation? It gives you a better understanding of that. And I'm sure there must be some examples in the chat that Temi can share with us later on. So as I wrap up, what is the Ilorin Innovation Hub all about? Well, we are just about to begin to develop the ecosystem. In developing this ecosystem, we would nurture talent. We will enable funding. We would work with the government to create IDE enabling infrastructure. We do have a governor and a government who is favorably disposed to this. That's a plus. We have a good location. What are we bringing to the table at Gymatics? We're bringing resources, we're bringing relationships, we're bringing partnerships, we're bringing expertise, and we're bringing exposure. And as we go on in the near future, I will begin to delve into more in-depth topics in our webinars. Thanks for listening to me, and over to Temi.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. I had to reclaim myself as the host. I don't know how I had to give up my host rights, but I'm taking it back now. That was brief. I actually wish that could go on a bit longer, because I know there's a lot of people here who have started to learn some things. But I mean, in summary, I think we can all understand what we've heard. There's a very big difference between somebody selling food in a restaurant and somebody who has a food delivery service. So one is a small business, one is an innovation, driven enterprise, which is an IDE. And I think that's what we're all trying to drive and create here. We're trying to see how we can foster and boost the development of more IDEs, instead of just having the regular traditional business models, why don't we just have a way of bringing technology into some of these old ideas and revamping them? We've had several examples of how some companies like Blockbuster, BlackBerry, they went to sleep, and some other companies just came and took up their markets, and we don't even hear about BlackBerry anymore these days. I don't think anybody really uses a BlackBerry anymore. Yes, thank you very much for that. Real quick, I think we'll move on to Kamal. Kamal, you're here in Ilorin. You've been here for several years, I know. What can you say you can share with us and tell us about the state of Ilorin right now? So I'm not going to assume and say we have an ecosystem yet. Let's just say we're just trying to build our ecosystem. Can you share with us some of your experiences? What are the potentials that exist? What exactly is Ilorin like? What is the ecosystem in Ilorin like right now? What's the state of our ecosystem in Ilorin right now?
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Payne. I'm so excited to be in your midst today, and a rare opportunity for me to share my experience about the ecosystem stage in my hometown, Ilorin. So I'm so fascinated by the presentation of Mr. Adekunle. He really pinpoints some of the important things I think we need to pick up from the current stage we have right now. But before I delve forward, I would like Mr. Adekunle, Dino, and some other speakers to know about what and where we are currently in terms of our ecosystem development. First of all, I wouldn't say we've moved from the stage of the foundation stage to the development stage in terms of the startup innovation placement. I wouldn't say that. But the reason why I would say that is that I would like to explain briefly about what and how we started. In 2017, I think Ilorin had just one functionable hub, and that would be Founders Hub. Although we have some kind of technology center, mainly some of them are like cafes. We have some popular cafes people do go, and we have some ICT center where people do research. In 2017, the only functionable hub, which is Founders Hub then, brings a notable entrepreneurship to the town. I think in person of Mr. Bello, yeah, Mr. Bello from, I think he's one of the innovators in Andela then. So to talk about what startup really is. To my own surprise in 2017, we don't own a single startup in that session. So the man was like, So in the whole of Ilorin, you mean we don't have any scalable startup, or people don't know what startup really is? So the question arises, and people are like, what is startup? What is a startup? What is a startup? Are you saying there is no business in Ilorin for the past few years? So the question was like, okay, what have you been doing? So it is then people are made to understand that some of the businesses are SMEs, just like Mr. Adekunle said. So some of them are center. Okay, some of them have this center, like, okay, for instance, a laundry work where they do laundry business, they do all these many businesses. So some of them like they are not leveraging on technology. So we are able to convince them to know that, oh, this is why and what they need to leverage on in terms of assisting the business and scaling forward. We even ask them then that, okay, how many people do you have as staff? The list of that the biggest business on that day was like, oh, I only have like 3 staff. my secretary, my accountant, and some other people. So they made it clear to us that they don't really understand what a startup is. And that is where the journey started. So we started bringing in people together. So the first meetup we had then at Founders Up, I think we just had 3 attendees. So people talk differently on people talk differently on what they can do to make technology advance and to make their business grow in terms of forthright. So I would like to talk about how I got interested or how I started with QuaraBuild. QuaraBuild is one of the largest tech ecosystem community in North Central at the moment in terms of capacity and in terms of members and in terms of the past accolades that we have. So I noticed most of these businesses around us who are not leveraging on technology, most of them didn't know what and why we need to do about moving our community forward. So the first thing I noticed then is understanding the local community. So we investigate, we run out surveys like, okay, what do you understand by startup and how can, what do you think your business is lacking currently? So we try to understand them and we believe that creating a community around this ecosystem will be the only key solution to what we can do. So the next thing we start doing is we create a program and we try to reach out to colleges because in Ilorin here, we are endowed with institutions and the institutions are very close to the city. So it gave us the advantage to reach out to the institution to talk about what their students are doing and ways to make to network them with successful entrepreneurs that are currently in the city. So we bring entrepreneurial support programs together, and we invited people from different universities. We invite people from colleges like College of Ed, College of Education in Ilorin, and Kwara State University. So we bring people together to talk about what and how they can use technology to support their career. So most of them were able to come up with things, and we started training them on how they can start a startup. We tried training them on how they can bring up a team together and what they can literally do to move the startup forward. So the question then is, why are we doing this? What is the ecosystem? So we noticed that for us to have an ecosystem, and one of the most important things about ecosystem as of 2017 in Ilorin is that it will improve our local economy, and also it will strengthen the network of those people who are really coming on board to drive the ecosystem as a whole. People start asking us this question: what is the ecosystem you're talking about? What is the ecosystem you're talking about? And how can we build it? So we were able to identify 4 key things to building the ecosystem. And one of these then is inspiration, like having the inspiration to do it. I myself, being the team lead of my particular team, I can't do it alone. So we try to bring in people who are currently passionate about doing what they can for the community. So the inspiration we try to get is that we try reaching out to tech blogs to source for information on what we need to do in our current city. Another thing we try to pinpoint then is the education. So we try to tell people then that education is very important. There is nothing you can do without without getting yourself the necessary knowledge to push what you want. Then the team building inspiration. Team building is very important, and we emphasized on that before we announced our fourth conference. So Quora Build started as a hope for everyone. We focus on developing a sustainable tech ecosystem in the state. Since 2018, we have concentrated our energy in mass enlightenment about the impact technology could make in our society. We host an annual Quora Build Tech conference every year. We started in 2018, and it has been supported by VMware. VMware is one of the largest cloud computing company in the world right now. And they supporting us. The reason why they supported Quora Build was not because of anything, was because of our energetic youth. They discovered that we have what it takes, and our youth are so adaptive to learning new things. This year, we tried our conference, Africa's Next Builder, which we look forward, which we bring in different speakers. We bring different speakers from different countries. We believe that consumers forever, we can't be consumers forever. So we need to start doing what we can to build our particular ecosystem. So we liaise with college student groups and youth groups in the state to spread our reach and impact. So today, I think Quora Build has a formidable ecosystem in terms of ecosystem that has asset, which creates access to resources and notable investors who are ready to put into the available ideas. Also, we engage secondary school students via our Quora Build education campaign. In the past 18 months, we have taught over 550 students basic concepts of computer literacy, internet safety, and virtual reality. So we believe the closer we get our people to the roots of this Nigerian education, the easier it will be to cause an overall change in our society. So we believe in catching them young so that they can be a better person in the future. In addition, through our special arm of Quora Build Women in Tech, we have thoughtfully taken actions to ensure women inclusion and tech education. So we create a program that is directly targeted at the women, improving them, providing them with resources, and upscaling their talents for the global stage. So we do that regularly. We do have regular chat sessions and skill building in programming, branding and design, and even online during the lockdown. And today I can say we have lots of women who are tech-oriented and they have acquired skills in line that can give them a better future. Some of them are currently working in a leading tech industry, not even in Nigeria, but outside Nigeria. Alongside those affirmations, we understand that securing an excellent talent base is the bedrock of the tech ecosystem development. So looking, for example, we check through Europe, the Silicon Valley, and even India. In fact, looking at Lagos, Nigeria, one would appreciate the work we've done by tech communities and companies within 2012 and 2016 at raising world-class talent, individual skills enough to compete and win on a global level without prejudice. Going forward, our community is at the stage of helping our members and a great number of youth in Quora. Students and non-students alike to gain employable and relevant skills. How are we doing that? So we organize a mentorship program for these people because we believe aside the knowledge, we still need people to guide them to do what is right. So it makes a good foundation for raising a startup in the coming years. If we don't have the necessary knowledge and talent placement, some of the startups we're planning to build, we may not be able to achieve it. So we currently work with VMware through Virtualized Africa program to develop selected numbers of youth in cloud computing and virtualization. So the team behind these programs in Collaborate are a group of youth who are good exposure and tech experience. Some of the members are students, while some are graduate professionals in IT and media. One of the key things I would like to talk about is also the help of partnership. So we have been able to partner with lots of tech communities. We partner with VNSync in UK. We have partnered with Cloud Technology, one of the indigenous software company in Kwara State at the moment. Also, we partner with Innovation Labs. So I think with the help of Temi in 2019, we were able to partner with the KWIRS, which gave us a lot of advantage in reaching the grassroots and providing our community with the relevant resources they need. So finally, we are convinced that doing little things consistently and trying to reach out in different methods, failing, learning from our failures, and iterating will return massive results in the future in the form of fully blossomed tech community. We work with a long-term view in mind, and we are currently on the push to do more and gain more traction in the future. So one key thing about us that I've noticed now is that today we have a lot of people who are tech-oriented, and they are currently employed in companies like Dumelo. Some people are working currently with Tide Lab, while some people are working with Umbrella. So we are able to produce many developers, and we have enough of talent currently in Kwara State that are building something. So in 2017, the difference between the current state we have and the level we are right now is that in 2017, some of the communities are not exposed to what startups mean. They don't know what tech events mean. They don't know what tech talent upscaling means. But today, we have people who are currently doing amazingly well. So they attend hackathon every year, and they are, in fact, the last hackathon hosted by Niagara Arts, I think the winners are from Kwara State, Ilorin. So it gave us a head that, okay, we are doing so well in terms of driving the ecosystem. So we believe we have so many challenges then, and one of the challenges we have is not fund, because we got partner with people who really believe in what we're doing. So we don't necessarily need to rise to a lot of people before we can get what we want. So they believe the pool of resources here and the numbers of youth, the numbers of energetic youth doing amazingly well in Ilorin will definitely, if people invest here, it will definitely take them to a long way. So lastly, building a tech ecosystem is not something difficult, but we have to be sincere with ourselves. We have to be honest. And I think what has really bring us to this current level is we being honest with those people we have met. In 2018, whenever we met people doing startups, we try to advise them, okay, wow, this is good, but these are the things you need to chip in to make an scalable startup. And today, we can say we are improving, but we still need to do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kamal. I think you've given us your experience, how things were in 2017 and how much of an idea many people in Ilorin didn't have about technology and the shift from then to where we are now. I think it's at least it's something in 3 years for the awareness, the knowledge about technology and technology tools to have increased. Just to drop a few facts, Ilorin is the 6th largest city in Nigeria. The market is there, the volume is there. Some of the biggest markets in the country, especially when it comes to things like textiles, gold, are in Ilorin. You know, so without even trying to recreate or develop or come up with any new ideas, if we have entrepreneurs in Ilorin that can just try to disrupt some of the existing business in Ilorin, I think that's an opportunity. So some people can actually start thinking about, okay, so there's already a lot of money flowing through, let me say, for example, the Ikwata market. How do I disrupt all that volume moving through this market? I think those are some of the questions that young entrepreneurs in Ilorin have to start asking. There's already this business, a laundry business. How do I disrupt this laundry business? How do I disrupt this gardening business with technology? So next, we are going back across the Atlantic to Canada. Dino, you've done this before. You are basically years and years ahead of us. You have a lot of background and history with education. One of the biggest components of a tech ecosystem is skills and capacity building, meaning people here in Ilorin and Kwara have to learn how to be able to use technology before anything can even happen. So let's hear from you, Dino. Let's hear from you, your experience at Niagara, Spark, and the K-12 educational system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for that amazing journey that you've taken so far. I think you're well on your way to a successful opportunity with the Community-Based Innovation Center. So if I can just take 3 minutes, 1 minute here, just to share the screen, I'd like to, if you allow me to share the screen, I'd like to just share about 4 slides as I speak to answering your question, if possible. And we'll give it a shot here. I don't know if everyone can see my screen right now, but we'll start from the beginning here. Can you see that, everyone, clearly? Yeah?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So let's start with exactly what everyone has been saying. An ecosystem, as everyone knows, is an environment where everything is interdependent to each other for it to grow. So one of the things I learned throughout many of the years of building these innovation centers connected to the community is you need to have 3 key pillars or 3 key players. What you mentioned was education. You have to have the community, which is the municipality, local government, the federal government. And then of course, the most important part is the businesses, because the businesses are what bring the economy up and also create jobs, allow you to create the funnel for the skill development of either entrepreneurs or talent. And when you have these 3 pillars running in a nice ecosystem, a prosperous community comes out of it. And that prosperous community also attracts talent worldwide. And today in this new economy of having, time zones on Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, what happens is you can create another ecosystem that actually balances with yours. The key that we learned in Niagara is that the formative years, the young generation in your home, the 4 and 5-year-olds, all the way to the 70 plus are very important in an innovation ecosystem. A lot of times we forget about the intergenerational information, the intergenerational knowledge, the tacit knowledge and experience that a 70-year-old may have compared to a 20-year-old. And those are what brings in your mentors, your coaches, experienced entrepreneurs, as well as an ex-educator, a scientist, whatever, into your innovation zone. The beauty is, and I'm going to give you an example, it's the mindset. You look at a 70-year-old who's close to my, like I'm a baby boomer, so I'm a 51 to 69-year-old in that range. I worry about how fast an ambulance can come here if my heart doesn't work well. Where a Generation Z in Niagara will say, I can't find the Wi-Fi. my battery is low on my iPhone. So you see the difference in mentality there, because they're all in the technology zone. I'm still in the old physical zone. But the beauty is, when you bring education together, as we did in Niagara, we have 12 cities under one municipality. Those 12 cities have a university and college and K-12 schools, French and English, but we work them together connected to Spark Niagara, the actual incubator. Bringing those two together allow you to then have the funnel for your entrepreneurship, allow for science, technology, engineering, and math programs to flourish, which in turn sends a beacon or a spike out to the rest of Nigeria. The second piece is working with the businesses, because you and I are creating startups and businesses so that these students can have a job someday, whether it's a doctor, an engineer, whatever. But the Innovation Center, when you work with education, business, and community, it builds bridges between all of those areas. And through technology and also tacit knowledge of the generations, the intergenerations, you get the strongest incubator that you can build. And the next piece would be looking at how do you do it now as a collaborative community. Well, then you mix business in the middle with the education, with the community, and it attracts the IBMs, the Microsofts of the world. All of the big companies will say, this collaboration is amazing. And the example I would use for Niagara is, when they saw this collaboration, it was easy to find funding. I didn't have to go struggling. On the bottom right, you'll see there's two lakes where Niagara sits in next to the US border. We were able to create a free trade zone because of the collaboration, so that we can go back and forth in this green area of Canada and this green area of the United States. But under the Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, there are 8 United States that we can now trade and work with in their universities, colleges, innovation centers, because they're tucked under those lakes, and we are covered in this whole area. So again, the whole thing is creating the opportunities to create talent, create solutions to problems, bring community together. And the takeaways I want to give everyone, and I just don't want to take up too much time, is, and I'm hoping this will be of value and I'll share this, is a startup community can fuel regional and national economic success. And the example I'll give you in Niagara is, we've been hit very hard with COVID-19 like everyone else. But what we've been able to do, we were very lucky. We lost accommodations and tourism, which we were strong in, 25,000 jobs. However, our manufacturing, our construction, and our agriculture are required necessities to continue moving the country forward, or the region forward, and they picked up the slack to cover for the loss of those jobs. So Spark now becomes a skills development, skills attraction, and skills retention through entrepreneurship and also apprenticeship. The other thing is, successful startup communities create an open, flexible culture that promotes idea sharing, movement of talent, and the give before you get. That's an amazing philosophy. Give first, right? Don't think about the ROI and you want to take right away. Give first, because it creates a trust and a collaborative environment with your clients if you're a business scaling, or your mentor, your coach, your funding institution, or your innovation center. Also, startup communities build on their initial success as word spreads. Again, there's nothing better than somebody saying, I believe I had the best time at Ilorin because I got to learn something. I walked away with a feeling that I'm part of the community, and I was able to process and take time and be a participant. And then the best part of that, it goes down to entrepreneurs, and only entrepreneurs should lead a startup community. It shouldn't be the politicians. It shouldn't be driven by the money. It is you, the talent that's there in Nigeria. And the best part too is the community always is inclusive. I know that it takes a village to raise a child, we say in Canada. So share leadership and welcome new leaders. Don't be afraid of competition. It makes you stronger, right? It's like resistance, weightlifting. Startup community can develop anywhere, but each is different and should be recognized for its own strengths. So if you don't have a strength in one place, don't try to overdo it and make it. Find a partner. Like Spark Niagara might be good in, let's say, blue water or green technologies. You might be great at artificial intelligence, IoT, coding. Why not create that joint venture together and make us stronger, just like the hand, right? With all the fingers. The other thing that I like about it is startup communities can develop anywhere, but each is different and should be recognized with its strengths, and the government and large businesses and universities must support those efforts. That's very key. They must support those efforts. You cannot do it without it. In my history, I grew up when the computer was just coming in. I got to meet the great people like Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, as they were building those Apples and IBMs and all that. What I learned from them is that you have to be able to work together in order to generate a community, number one. Number two, what's really important is that you have to also be able to share some of your knowledge and share it back and forth up to a point without losing your intellectual property. And to generate mentoring and networking is really important. And it's exciting to know that you guys are doing that. You ladies and gents there are fantastic. I've seen just from this presentation so far that the community that you're offering is engaging. And I think you're ready to really have a moonshot, as we say in Canada. So I want to congratulate you on that. And I hope I've given you a little bit of information that you might be able to take away, a golden nugget or two to feel good and see what you can do with your great innovation space.
Thank you very much, Dino. Wow. I think he's basically touched on so many things that I've been preaching and reminding me of so many things that I might have also known, but I think are very key and crucial to a successful ecosystem. He had a slide where he drew a triangle between the businesses, the research, and the talent. The honest truth of the matter is that, you know, that synergy, that triangle, I just mentioned that we have a lot of business, we have some huge markets, we have the talent, we have the young people who are very interested and very keen in technology. You know, we just need to key into the, you know, learning, the research, and bring the complete triangle together. One of the things that the Ilorin Innovation Hub is actually doing, we are partnering with the University of Ilorin. That's the biggest university here. But there's like so many other universities in Kwara State. There's Kwara Poly, there's Alikma University, there's the private universities, there's Landmark University, there's Kwasu. So there's a whole lot of, there's a large network of universities that we're actually about to key into right now. And I happen to be in the US, and somewhere along my trip to the US, I made an extended trip to Canada, and I just showed up at Spark at the Niagara Ryerson Innovation Hub, and Dino was really shocked and surprised to see me because he was like, "Didn't I just see you on Zoom a few weeks ago?" And I was showing him Lori and he was like, "You're actually here in person." So he was really shocked and surprised, and I was like, "Yeah, like, well, hopefully sometime next year, if the Ilorin Innovation, when the Ilorin Innovation Hub takes off, we want to take our first cohorts, if possible, to Canada. I'm not going to come back alone this time, you know. I'm going to come back with some entrepreneurs that have started some companies here in Ilorin, and we'll have something to show you. So thank you very, very much for that. For some of the people asking for the slides, we'll get you the slides after.
Yep. I'll pass them on.
So thank you very much, Dino. Last but not least, we have somebody who I would call a godfather. Oh, if you allow me to hype you, I'll hype you beyond beyond what you would allow. But I'm just going to humbly say
Please don't hype me, please.
I will hype you. Sorry, you can't avoid it. So OO is a very good friend of mine. We go very way back. So we're like contemporaries. We both tried to launch startups. And I'm going to say this right now without any shame. I've failed at a startup before. There was a sign I saw in your innovation hub that says failure is what? I saw a sign in one of your offices that says failure is what?
Sorry.
I saw a sign that said something. There was a message about failure. Can you remind me what that says?
Oh yeah, no. Failure is not it's success. Failure is success. Fail often, fail quickly.
Thank you. So OO has known me from a very long time ago when I actually also gave entrepreneurship and startup a shot, and it didn't quite work out well. But in my short time, in my short few minutes of fame, I think OO can recall while he was doing his university degree, his second degree in the UK, my platform supplied all the music that they used to listen to back then. Before Nigerian music became as popular as it is now, I actually had a startup where people used to listen to and stream Nigerian music all over the world. So, I mean, that was like a very, very 10 years ago, a long time ago. But we've all grown since then. OO has also dabbled in a few startups here and there, But to top everything off, OO played a very, very crucial role in the success of Paystack. So we're all talking about Paystack. We all hear the story, but you never hear the names of the people behind the story. So OO right here, our next speaker, is actually one of the biggest names behind the Paystack success. So if you guys didn't know before, Paystack, earlier on in their journey, they got into YC, Y Combinator. That's the startup accelerator program in Silicon Valley. And OO played a huge role in getting them into YC back. And that was where the whole journey started for Paystack. Oh, sorry, I had to just cut that, expose you. You don't want people to know. Well, I won't say the other part of the story. I'll just stop where I'll stop there.
Thank you.
I won't go for that. So, OO, glad to have you here today. Thank you for waiting. We just really want to hear from you. Before I hand over fully, I'll tell everybody here that OO is somebody that connected everybody in the industry. And one of the reasons why Paystack is successful today is because OO was doing connections and connecting. We all have this attitude of wanting to keep everything to ourselves. You don't want to share contacts. You don't want to share information. You just want to hold on to everything. But the truth of the matter is sometimes to be able to move forward and build a successful ecosystem, we all have to collaborate, work together, and share our resources. The only reason why Paystack is the success they are today is because OO shared his resources. OO didn't hold on to his network and say, no, I don't want anybody to know these people. I don't want anybody to get into YC behind me. I want to be the only one. He threw the pass and they took it up. And right now, we're in the presence of a dollar. Let me keep quiet. Let me not go further. We're in the presence of a millionaire. So OO, so please come on and talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Yeah, thank you very much, Temi. I'm not a fan of the exaggeration of my influence in. I was quite helpful. Yeah, I was quite helpful, but like they say, it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm just one of many villagers that were helpful. We're thankful that there's success, and when there's success, everybody wants to latch onto it. But the reason why Paystack succeeded is it had an excellent founder, co-founders, a team tackling a big market, and they built an excellent product. Many people came in and helped in one way or the other, and I would say I'm just fortunate to have been there at the point in time I was being able to help. So going back to the meat of it, like I was told, the whole idea was talking about. Long and short is, how do we make Ilorin a tech ecosystem of repute, right? And so what I would say is I'll give a bit of my background. I grew up in Benin, a very small town, south of Nigeria, and I was fortunate for my secondary school. I schooled in Lagos, so I had a bit of exposure, and I always wanted to do technology. Then I went to the UK, and that's when I got into tech fully. Every weekend, of course, why we'll be listening to Stubbs. Stubbs was the name of Temi's platform, early days, 2008, 2009. I don't know where most of you were then, but it was really early, at least in tech, right? And every weekend, I remember very clearly, every weekend, my friends would go to Coventry to party, and I'll go down to London to do this tech thing. And that's where I got into the hackathons, and that's where I made my relationships. That's where I saw meetups. I just saw a lot of things happening, and I was so excited. In less than a year, I went back to Warwick. I schooled in Warwick. Warwick is in Coventry, and it's in a remote place. I normally say Coventry is like Benin of UK. It's just somewhere in the middle there. And I helped. Then we always used to have the Warwick entrepreneurs, and each university had an entrepreneurial society. As Adekunle said, most of them, As Adekunle said, most of them were tackling typical small businesses, and no one was tackling the challenges real startups had. And so I started out Warwick Internet Entrepreneurship, Warwick Internet Entrepreneurs Society, right? And because the needs were different. And yes, so I was happy to kick that off. After a while, when I started speaking with an accent, I knew it was, when I told someone that was old enough to be my grandmother, hi, instead of good evening, man, I knew it was time to go back home. So I decided to return home, right? I decided to come back home, and I still have the blog post I wrote when I was coming back home. The blog post is titled Return to Zamunda. But there's a line there saying, I want to go and help build the Nigerian tech ecosystem. I knew what I had learned, and I moved back home. And when I moved back home, I held arguably the first tech meetup in Nigeria. So basically bringing tech people together, having beers, having pizza, and just talk and just create a community. What people don't realize then is that Twitter was very young, and we didn't have any mailing lists. So it was basically locking it out. Okay, I wrote a blog post previously. I wrote a blog post in 2009 or so that went viral, and I was on Business Insider, I was on TechCrunch when I launched my startup. And because of that, I was lucky enough to have so many people reach out to me. There was no hashtag. You couldn't really know who to follow. There was no, Twitter didn't even have a Twitter client. So it was just a wild, wild west. So thankfully, because of the blog post I wrote, I got a lot of people that were interested in tech who now reached out to me. I was on Hacker News. That period was really rapid. So they saw a black guy on TechCrunch having his own startup, and lots of entrepreneurs that were in their little isolated places reached out to me. So it helped me build the mailing list, in which I sent a message to saying I was doing my first startup meetup. Interestingly, that was the first time I saw Shola at that meetup. So when you look at all these things, you would, like Steve Jobs said, you would be able to connect the dots backwards. So that's how we're able to start tech community. Then things happened. I got to meet Bosun. Bosun started CC Hub and created a place. And the rest is history. Well, if we're trying to get Ilorin to be a startup hub, one of the things I would say, because thankfully I'm speaking after 4-5 smart people, and it means that I don't have to say much because we're going to be saying different things. So I'll try to put it all together in a way. Kamaldeen was talking a lot about all the talent, and the talent is there, right? And while he was talking, at first I was hoping that somebody would imply that there wasn't much talent in Ilorin, because I wanted to start calling out. I had names I'd written out that went to University of Ilorin. So today, one pipe is called, the founder is called Opeyemi Adeoye, and he was ex-Interswitch. They just raised $950,000, right? He's University of Ilorin alum. And Musti is the CTO of Kuda Bank. Kuda Bank just raised $10 million. University of Ilorin. Charles Ifedi, Interswitch founder, one of the co-founders of Interswitch, University of Ilorin. And we have all those things. The person that leads marketing in PayStack, I had one guy called Mubarak, was one of the best designers. Rest in peace. So may still rest in peace. Mubarak was just the best. But basically, we had all these talents that came out from Ilorin, and yet we were talking about there was no startup in Ilorin. Why? The best people move to the best place to live. You cannot make a startup hub if people don't settle in that place. You end up being a very good feeder team that like Ajax, and you're bringing up talent and will be taking it around the world. But the truth of the matter is that people congregate when you succeed in life. You want to go to the best place for you and your family, for you and your job. Now, for Ilorin to be a great startup hub, it has to be a great place to live and work, but more or less a great place to live. And what makes a great place to live? There's so many things, right? You just need a good environment, purely planned stuff. Unfortunately, as they said, you cannot entrepreneur your way out of bad governance. So it is government that has a role to play to make the broader ecosystem work. However, we are in an industry where we operate in spite of governments, right? We just have to keep on moving on. No matter what happens, we keep on moving on, right? They throw on regulation, they throw on, like, there's no light, there's no this. We just find a way to make it work. Now, so two things have to work. You need talent and you need money. The good thing about the way technology is now is that you do not need to really serve your market. I just saw Bolt raise $140-something million today, and what it should interest you to note is that Bolt came out of Estonia. It's one of the tiniest places, less than 1 million people, right? Estonia brought out Skype, the guys from TransferWise, and every other thing, right? Let's not talk about Israel as a whole. So basically, the fact that Ilorin or Kwara State is a small place, Kwara is big, but let's focus on Ilorin for now, doesn't mean it cannot produce one of the biggest GDPs in Africa as a whole, right? But what would it mean? It means that you have to attract and keep the best talent there. One of the best ways to attract and keep the best talent there is through universities. In business, retention is one of the key important metrics. It's probably 10 times easier. I don't have the numbers, but it's much, much, much easier to retain a customer than to attract a new one. So what does that mean? What you want is, you want the best founders or the best talents to live, to remain. They come to University of Ilorin and you have to do stuff that lets them remain. It's easier to keep Adekunle Ajiboye in Ilorin than for you to now attract him. Now he has settled in Lagos. So in the talent pipeline, you have to, while you are creating talent, you have to try and look for where to keep, how to keep them there. How do you keep them there? Well, it depends. Like I said, it's the best place to live and all have you. Thankfully, these days, we have what we call remote work. Remote work means that, again, everyone knows, it means that you can actually get a job from everywhere else. Temi spoke earlier, and I don't know where he has disappeared to, but Temi spoke earlier about the fact that Lagos is a hectic place. Lagos is hectic, and in spite of that, people leave, people still stay here. Why? Because give or take, there are other things apart from work that makes Lagos interesting, a good place to stay. So in spite of every other thing, that's to show how backward or how far behind other people are, that in spite of everything, in spite of the fact that to live in Lagos is work on its own. That's a full day's job, just living in Lagos before going out to a job, right? It's full-time work. In spite of that, Lagos is still far ahead. But we're seeing different trends. Talent QL by Adewale Yusuf is moving to Ife, right? Lots of people are moving to Nsukka. They're trying to create a talent city in Calabar. So what should Ilorin do? Ilorin should be able to put the foundation, right? You should be able to create or provide the infrastructure for the people there to do their best work, right? And the thing is that this thing has a domino effect in the sense that when people are in a place, when good people are in place, more good people want to be there, and more good people will come, and you now create success, and more people want the success, and it starts going that. So first thing I would ask would be to create a good place for the people that are already there to do their best work. So what does that mean? Two things, right? Light, internet, right? I didn't ask for food, right? Because these days we all do what's this fasting method we do, so we don't want to eat that much. But again, you need to create infrastructure. Adekunle talked about people moving to Texas, bigger companies. You need to create policy. So those people are moving to Texas not because they love Texas. Yes, Texas had always been there, but right now it's zero personal income tax. So a state like Kwara State can say anyone working in tech community, you don't pay a level of tax. What happens is if I don't pay tax, I have to still spend the money. Money allows people to just put effort or make work happen in the particular way. So if I save 30 million in my I don't know, from taxes as a company, what do? I maybe give staff lunch. If I give staff lunch, it means that I will patronize the farmers, and there's a domino effect. If a startup founder has an extra amount of money that he didn't pay as taxes, he would invest it in the community. He will get a bar. He will build a small business. He will start his barbering salon. People will invest there. So you need to create certain policies, the government, right? Because when I'm talking about the government, typically we don't talk about the government. The best thing the government can do is to get out of the way. Guys, thank you so much. How have you contributed? We'll give you an award. Just do nothing, and that's the biggest thing you can do. But because you're here and you're trying to be part of this, we'll say, don't get out of the way yet. We'll observe you closely. You have to create policy that will attract the right people that will help facilitate stuff. So for instance, we're talking of internet, right? We don't expect the government to create internet or to provide internet. What we expect is the government to create a policy. Right now, they said that right of way is 100 and something naira, right? From 5,000 or how much for them to lay fiber cables. I would flip it on its head and pay Main One or pay Glow One or MTN and pay them 10,000 naira, at least maybe in tax rebates or any other thing, for every kilometer of fiber they lay. Because what you should understand is that the internet is the way and the path to the general public. So the cheaper the internet access is, the more people that can come on the internet in Kwara or in Ilorin, and the more talent that you can build and create. The more people that are talented there, the more they create, right? The university would be a very good place for people to go and do their best work. It would attract other people. Ilorin for a while was not in ASU, which was supposedly a good thing. I think they have joined now. And it meant, at least for a long period of time, people went to University of Ilorin because they were sure that there would be no strikes. So some things that may not seem directly related contribute. So you have to look for a way, like you have to have the idea of bringing in and retaining the most talent. Yeah. So again, you need investors for businesses to run, right? You need investors, right? And the truth of the matter is that before now, you had to live where the investors were. Things have changed. Investors go where talent is, and there are many companies, like WordPress, for instance, that have thousands and thousands, or InVision that have thousands and thousands of employees that are fully remote, right? Okay, I can see him saying Kwara State waived it to zero. You have to turn it around and incentivize. You have to make it like a competition. Let's blanket that place with fiber. right? You can, if states are cash strapped, but you could find a way to incentivize people, right? You incentivize people to build the kind of communities. We don't want to live in a place that there's no light or there's generator noise. You can't think of an algorithm when there's doing in your head, right? How does that happen? You have companies, property companies that would come in and be giving land and all those other things. But let me not get distracted. So you need investors, right? And thankfully, investors now just follow the talent, right? I don't know where Kamaldeen is. I assume he's in Ilorin. But look at all of us being able to interact here today. Adekunle, I think he's in Canada from what you said, but he's part of the Ilorin hub. You may want to claim your hosting rights, Temi, so your recording stays with you. But he's part of the community. So what is happening now is that investors do not have to be where you are for them to invest in you. So again, once you're able to do that, you'll be able to succeed. One more thing I would like to talk about is when they talk about a hub.
We must have had an outage, Dino.
Yeah, I'm wondering
they,
here.
Temi will probably pick up and probably lost OO.
Okay. So
Temi, unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm here.
I
So,
guess
yeah.
I took my video off just in case they needed bandwidth.
Yeah, so I've actually had to switch back and forth between 3 internet services during this webinar.
Yeah.
Yes,
no worries. Keep it up. Keep telling us. I love what you're talking about.
I've had to switch back and forth between 3 services just to stay on this call. That's what we're going through, and that's what we need to improve. So with the policy that I just mentioned, that the government has actually made it almost free for telecoms companies to lay fiber now. We're hoping that more of them are going to come in right now. This is the first webinar in the series. I actually got a new internet service here this week just because of this webinar. Just because of this, just for this purpose, because I already had 2 or 3 before, but I just wanted to have the stronger, better option and look at what's going on right now. So, yeah, I mean,
well done, though. You should be proud of
what you're doing. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Temi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you, but I would assume you can hear me.
I can hear you.
So, like I was saying, when we're of the Innovation Hub, it's very important. One of the popular things government does is that they assume because they have the capital, they can force innovation. You can't. It's in the head. And if you do not attract the best people, they just walk away. They go away. So a hub, when you want to make a place a hub, there are elements of it. And of course, Dino has talked about a lot of them, right? But I normally tell people we need a space, right? One of the things that CC Hub did was that it created a space. I didn't say building, because people bring out glorified cyber cafes and they just drop computers there and say it's a hub, right? No, you need a space. You should know, if you look at other university institutions and universities that were built at least before the 80s or so, there were spaces of thoughts, there were spaces of inspiration from the architecture and everything. It allowed people to think. People are inspired by what they see and they consume around them. So the day I'm visiting in Ilorin Hub, and if I see it's a converted cyber cafe, I'll be the first to mock you online. I know you dare not do it. But we need a space that is innovative, right? You need space, you need programs, right? When you have a space, you provide infrastructure and everything, it will attract the first set of people. Hey, free internet, free space, free place to work. But again, it has to be a bit of an inspirational space. Secondly, you need to create programs, right? And in creating these programs, you don't need to be the person to create these programs. We need to teach people. We need to create talents. Talents are the ones that start these companies. So you need to teach them. They need to learn. And the good thing is that part of programs is the third part would be it's about partnerships. The good thing about partnerships is that those people in specializing in what they are doing, it affects what you're doing. So, for example, people, if the states were very aggressive as it were then, like how the Rwandan government is now, they should have brought in Andela and give them a free piece of land and accommodation, because that would have brought in 1,000 developers, right? Those are the kind of things partnerships can do. You need to bring in the right types of people that will come in and double down on what you're doing. We have the big conglomerates, we have the smaller ones, because what people don't understand is that one thing I like about what Andela said was talent is evenly distributed, opportunity is not. So you have a lot of talent already in Ilorin, right? You have a lot of talent already in Ilorin, and you need to retain them, right? Some of these things you can do can help, but what you want to be is someone that kickstarts, right? When you start a business, because sometimes people just find a way, a hack, whatever it is, and just bring in the right set of people. When the thing starts, it's like what do you call it? A chain reaction. When a chain reaction starts, you don't start putting fire or whatever it is. It just wants. So your own is to try and kickstart it, and you should be able to set a high standard. It's very, very important that you set a high standard at the beginning. Why? The truth of the matter is, people are now realizing that oil is out of it. So even Lagos State, they are trying to start looking for new places. So you will start competing. Canada, we talked about Canada. Canada is farming the best brains from the greatest brain drains in a generation or so, right? Canada is trying to get the best people. What is the UK doing? From January 1st, if you get a job that pays you £25,000 a year, of which any junior developer can get, right? You get a visa to go and live in the UK. You don't get much money. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that when I wrote my post about Yaba and Andela, Yaba and talent and all those things, your competition is not Lagos. Your competition to keep your best talent is in London. It's in Toronto, or Toronto, as they call it, Toronto, right? That's where your competition is. And you cannot use sentiment. You can't use patriotism. Now, who they are alive, they are patriotic. You understand? So you need to create an environment. Give or take, we know for sure that if the quality of life in Nigeria was half or 1/4, maybe 1/3 that of Canada, many people will not go to a cold place to be lamenting. They would stay here. So the truth of the matter is that what you have to do might not be that much, but you have to do certain things, and you cannot blackmail people to stay in a place that doesn't work. At worst, you might end up being the feeder team, right? And hopefully somehow the people that succeed or manage to stay will build it out. But again, you have to build the best place for people to want to stay. If not, you'll just be going to see people's LinkedIn, and at the very bottom you see University of Ilorin, and you'll be retweeting and say, hey, this guy is a Unilorin alumni, hey, Kwara, but the person has no more ties. The person is not contributing any economic activity. You understand? Typically, I'm not a fan of giving a lot of presentation and talk. I like people to ask questions so that I can practicalize or give responses that are very practical to what you want to know. So I think I'll conclude by saying, again, a tree can make a forest. We see what happened in Jos. The very talented Sim Shagaya started ULSN in Jos and tried to do everything. But again, he saw that people didn't want to come to Jos. Accessibility, right? If you want to quickly be part of, the world is globalized. So it means, like you said to Dino, as you talked about with Dino, that today you were showing him Ilorin, the next day you were in Canada. Well, if you go to a place whereby it will take you 3 days to get to the nearest airport before you get to Canada, you will not have the surprise because probably a ship would have got to Canada earlier, right? So you need to be in a place that's accessible, which is why I said that no matter what ULSN did, they couldn't stay in Jos, because even if I want to just drop into Jos, I can't just get into Jos. I would have to wait for one of the flights every other 5 days. So while you're doing your stuff, you cannot entrepreneur your way out of these macro effects, right? And if you do not, if we have choice now, the innovators have choice. So you can't force us to stay. So if you don't provide all these things, what will happen with people will just get up and leave, and you can't do anything about it. Thank you very much, Temi. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Yes.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you, because that's a good point you touched on. Niagara, even though we're close to the US border and to Toronto, the big city, we need a GO train. We need a train to bring the young people here, because they don't want to come to Niagara. It's too small, right? Without transportation, they won't come.
Yes. And luckily you had a train. So is it a single train? Is it just an easy train to ride?
They call it the GO train, which is a transit system between Toronto and the other cities and here, but it only comes once in the morning and once at night. But we need it more often, because, you know, a university may want to send 2 students, a business may want to send a research and development person here. And they have to either drive, and I know it's only an hour and a half drive, but the traffic is incredible and could take them 4 hours to get here.
Yes, and the more successful they are, they leave. Because why would I have choice?
So, that's very, very on point, because I was so excited about the news that the Lagos-Ibadan train has started working, but that's Ibadan, that's not even Ilorin. Ilorin is still further out from Lagos. So yeah, we're laying a train network, and some new routes have started working in Nigeria right now. So there's a new train route from Lagos to Ibadan. And guess what? A lot of people are going to start living in Ibadan and working in Lagos if that train starts operating properly. The same way Abuja and Kaduna has happened. You know, a lot of people now can go to Kaduna and come back the same day. And like you said, not everybody will be able to afford a flight back and forth from Ilorin. So, you know, Ilorin Innovation Hub might have to maybe even invest in some sort of bus that shuttles between Lagos and Ilorin, something that, you know, can bring entrepreneurs back and forth. Let me give you one story. So there was a company that spent a few weeks working in Ilorin. They had a project and they were here for a few weeks. And what they were able to say was that at the end of that few weeks, they had a product that they've been working on, and they hadn't been able to complete this product in Lagos for several months. In 2 weeks, they made so much progress while they were working in Ilorin that at the end of that 2 weeks, when they went back to Lagos, their boss sent them back to Ilorin and said, you know what, you guys go back to Ilorin and work in Ilorin for another 2 weeks. Why? Because they were able to work better and focus, and they were more productive while they were here. So they actually came back here and they were able to complete their product, and it's ready. They've launched now, all because they were able to spend some time in Ilorin. So yeah, I also personally know some software developers that actually got up and left Lagos and said, you know what, they just moved down to Ilorin, came to rent a place here, and they work remotely from here. To them, there's no difference being in Lagos from being in Ilorin, you know. So there's so many of those cases. But like you said, if we don't have the right enabling environment locally here on ground, whether it's with the government support, the government cannot do it all. The government can only help and support, but it's the people here itself, the talent, that we all have to work together and grow this ecosystem. So I won't take any more time. Does anybody have any questions before we close? Any of our attendees, does anybody have any questions to ask? I think we've really covered. Okay, so yeah. Is this a question? What would you advise to be done to coagulate the different parts currently building in silos? So yes, silos. I mentioned that I can pull up my emails right now and show you so many times that OO linked me to other startup founders, telling us, oh, you guys work together. You guys are doing similar, or should I say complementary things, work together. I'm sorry, but I'm about to start playing that same role that OO played in Lagos 10 years ago. I'm about to start playing that role now in Ilorin. I'm about to tell all the tech entrepreneurs now that I'm a free mentor. Anybody can walk up to me, you can call me, you can talk to me and ask for advice. I want to connect and encourage people to work together, because without that, there's not going to be any growth. We all have to work together in this small ecosystem. We all have to share our resources, share our networks. Yes, we can be competitive, we can compete, but not to the point where we're not working together. Competition is good, helps you grow, like Dino said earlier, but we still have to work together. We still have to be able to trust each other, share each other to the point where we're not giving up all our IP, like Dino said, to a level where we are able to still collaborate and work together. And one of the things and the ways in which working in silos would reduce is having a common space where everybody can come to. CC Hub played a very big role in Lagos, because CC Hub was the first big tech hub that Lagos had, where everybody would come to and all work together. We're hoping to have something like that very soon. Let me share my screen. I don't have permission to show this, but I'm going to share it anyway. So, you mentioned the space and how the space should be encouraging and inspiring. I grew up in Ife, where the campus was built for learning, for thought. It was built to really activate your brain cells. What is being built right now in Ilorin is like none other anywhere in Nigeria, to be very honest with you. The Innovation Hub building and structure that's going to be built is going to be one of its kind. So when it comes to having a space that would inspire and encourage people to think and come up with new ideas and be
nobody should tweet it, so just let them know that they shouldn't go and tweet it. Nobody should tweet it.
Let me stop the share before anybody grabs that. So that's just to give you a glimpse, a little sneak peek into what the government is. And you're very right. We don't have to come up with all our programs ourselves. We're going to partner with some people. Just this last week, another state in Nigeria, I'm not going to mention the state, partnered with a software engineering institute to start a tech park in their state. We have something similar in the works in Kwara, in the pipelines, where we're going to actually have existing organizations that specialize in building and developing talent. We're going to specialize, in learning and, skills and capacity building. We have our friends from Canada. We have some partnerships with the Innovation Hub in the works over there also, where we're able to, foster this chain of talent and growth here in Nigeria. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Temi, I just want to jump in real quick. There was a question about what role copyrights play in startups and so the first thing I want to correct is I believe you are talking of intellectual property. And so when you're talking of intellectual property, we've got patents, we've got trademarks, we've got copyright. They all serve different purposes. Patents mainly protect a way of how you write your code or your process. So that's a patent. A trademark, a copyright, they're two different things. So if you look at our logo, or probably the Innovation Hub logo, when you see the prefix or suffix TM, you're saying that you're the only one that can use that phrase or design or logo. That's a trademark. A copyright is speaking more to literary projects or products. So for you, I believe you must be talking about patents. And if that's the case, patents are very key, very crucial. A patent, you have heard of many legal challenges, Apple going to court with Google going to court with Twitter. I'm the first one that did the swipe. I'm the first one that did the click, and they stay on that. Patents protect you in this part of the world for about 17 years. It gives you a competitive advantage, and they play a key role in fostering innovation-driven entrepreneurship and products and platforms. Where are we in Nigeria? We have NOTAP, NOTAP is beginning to try and make a big effort, but intellectual property awareness and how to go about it are part of the services that will be done at the Ilorin Innovation Hub.
Thank you very much for that answer. I think that covers that question pretty well. If there's no more questions, I would like to thank everybody for the time. This has been close to 2 hours, plus the DJ set time that we spent listening to music. So this has been a recorded session. We're going to have video from this to share with everyone after this. We're also going to, this is an announcement that's going to be made here. So we're also going to start a podcast from our webinars that we're going to also share online. And we're just trying to start this talk and conversation and trying to trigger as much activity in our young talent here in Ilorin as possible. I can tell you that there's a few people bubbling under already with several companies here and there trying to do this and that locally in Ilorin that I've seen, but they really just need guidance. They need mentorship. They need to listen to and hear from people that have done it before. You would, in 5 minutes, dissect anybody's company or startup or idea in Nigeria from top to bottom and tell them what they're doing wrong and what they need to change and what they need to. We need that kind of mentorship also. But apart from that, the mentality also has to change where everybody is thinking of trying to innovate, trying to disrupt, and wanting to learn new skills, very showing interest in new technologies, cryptocurrency, AI, there's robotics, there's machine, there's so many things that we can get into right now that the world is moving towards, and we have the talent that can get into it. So we don't want to just be, like you said, an Ajax where we're just training and building young players only to sell them to bigger teams. No, we want to actually keep some of our good and best talent in Ilorin and help to grow this ecosystem. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for your time. Thank you to all the attendees. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Dino, Adekunle, Kamaldeen. Thank you. You can all mute your mics to say, should I say, bye to the rest of the...
Okay, bye-bye, my man.
So
keep it up. When are you inviting us in person?
So, Christmas, I know you're going to the East soon. First week in January, we're going to, schedule a trip down to Ilorin. That's a promise this time.
Yeah, no, I just told you, I just want the students around. That's the only thing I'm asking for. Once the students are around,
I thought the ASU strike was about to be over. Haven't they called it off yet?
Once the students are around, I'm not here for you.
The universities to get back in session and the strike to get called off, and we'll be down here. And we've actually, I promised a trip to Ilorin.
Okay, I guess Oho is talking about, I guess Oho is talking about when next he will be meeting with innovators like students around, talking with them, sharing ideas, isn't it?
So there's going to be a lot more activity. This webinar right now, this webinar is going to be a frequent occurrence. We're going to have this webinar regularly. We're going to have meetups. Because of the pandemic, we're not supposed to meet in large quantities, but I think some of that has been eased now in Ilorin and Kwara. So we can actually have meetups, physical meetups, where we can actually meet. Kamal, you're the first person I'll call when it comes to that, when it comes to reaching out to the people in the community and the techies in Ilorin. So that's going to happen soon. But we have to just, do a lot more of this. We have a huge lineup also of many more speakers that we're going to bring on this webinar series. Shola from PEST himself is coming on here to talk to us. We have so many more people lined up and so much more knowledge to impart onto people here in Ilorin and people outside too. So thank you everybody that joined from Ilorin and from outside Ilorin, from Ghana, the US, Canada, all over. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, Dino, thanks a lot for joining. Nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you all.
All right, thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.